Hey everyone, we're back again for another podcast for the amazing Facebook group Mindfulness and Positivity. This one's a good one. I only spoke to this guy yesterday. He was introduced through a friend, and wow, what a story. And he's just about to give it. We're just about to come through to Byron, who is part of the JJ Effect, which is a knife crime prevention, which he is an anti-knife crime speaker. And we're just going to get straight onto Byron right now. I'll bring him in. Hey buddy.
I'm all right. How are you?
All right, buddy.
I don't know. Can you hear that noise that's coming through?
No, I can't hear any noise other than the noise that your teeth sending because they are
everywhere I go, everyone's like straight away talks about like, oh God. I could be stood at a bar or anything now, and I'm just like, everyone's like, oh, you're Byron, aren't you? I said, I don't know. We saw your teeth. I'm like, oh.
All I can do is look at my own now, thinking, I'm like, oh.
Oh God.
How are you getting on?
Tired, very tired. As you know, we've just done another charity event last night.
Well, tell them, you told me a brief thing, but tell everyone what it is you've done, what you've just done.
Yeah, so the JJ Effect, I wanted to make sure we weren't just known for anti-knife crime and child protection. I wanted to do hundreds of things, which we are doing. And one of the main things that I hold close to my heart is pushing the body to show that communities and people can come together. So we do a lot of charity events. And yesterday we did our second over 14-hour walk, and we walked from Preston Hospital to Liverpool Dock. So all of our feet are absolutely horrendous. And then last week,
how many miles is that? How many miles?
It's only about 40. It doesn't sound a lot.
I mean, only. That's a massive achievement.
For the JJ Effect, that's not a lot, because then last week we rode our bikes from Preston to London, and that was over 300 miles.
In a day?
In 5 days.
All right.
In 5 days.
I would say walking 40 miles is harder than 300 miles in 5 days. 40 miles in 1 day is unbelievable.
Oh, it was absolutely, I'm not going to lie, it was horrendous. It really is. What it does is it's the constant impact on your feet. And then I took, for the first time, I try and motivate my young people that I work with. So we took one of our young people with us as well. He was only 14. So, and we managed, I had to give him a lot of motivational talks around to get him through, but he did it. And at the end, he was nearly in tears. He was like, I can't believe I've done it. That was like his first really big event. Even though I've been supporting him for quite some time now, that was the first one he's actually been a part of. And as you can tell with my eyes, I am absolutely exhausted.
But you were still here. So last night, so we'd never spoke. I don't even think you know Lisa well, a good friend of mine, but we spoke, and you were just literally, I rang you, said what I was going to say, that I want to get you on. I love your story. You were just finishing 40 miles and you had more energy than I had at that time. And I'd done nothing all day. And I'm thinking, yeah, he's going to get a bit tired and then he's not going to be on. You came up with 10 a.m. And then I texted you this morning thinking you were going to change it to 11. You were like, no, mate, bang on. Straight on.
This is what makes the JJ Effect different. And this is why police forces up and down the country using us and everyone, is because it's my personality. By the time I was in bed last night, it was gone 12 once I finished emailing police and stuff like that. Back up this morning, I've got to do this with you now. Then at 11 o'clock, I've got a meeting with BBC. Then at 12 o'clock, I'm going to do an intervention that the JJ Effect does, and we're getting 2 machetes off a young woman from her children who've been carrying them. So I'm going to have to go and do that. Then back to the youth club to make sure that's all fit and tidy, ready for Saturday. And then obviously planning the next. It's quite rare, this, to be fair, at the moment, that I've actually got a few days to do things like this. At the moment, I'm so busy with traveling and doing the knife crime stuff that we're doing. It's unbelievable. And now obviously BBC are taking more and more interest in what we're doing. So yeah, it's good. I am tired. I will say that this is me at probably like 50%. But yeah, like, I really do annoy everyone. Everyone's in the van or the London or whatever, a charity event, and everyone's like falling asleep, and I'm like, why is everyone going to sleep? Come on.
Wicked. So we know nothing. Like I have had a little. Lisa had told me a little bit about it, but I like to get to know people. Do you like? No one will know your story. So do you want to tell us about what the JJ Effect is and how that came about, and anything that you want to disclose?
Yeah, of course. So the JJ Effect stands for the John Joe Effect. That's my younger brother who was stabbed and killed in Preston in 2014. And what it is when I decided to change my life around after kind of 2000, I can't remember what it was when it was like that actually, but when I was 28, I'm 31 now, and I decided to change my life around and be a better person. And as soon as I did that, it felt like instantly I started to meet people that like believed in me. It was weird. It was like it was meant to happen. And I realised that my brother had left me a bit of a gift. And one talk in front of the BBC off a little piece of paper like this big. And I looked up and everyone was like speechless, like, wow, you've got a bit of a talent here. And I was like, I don't know what's going on here. Anyway, then I decided to keep doing it, and I ended up working for another company. And before you know it, click of a finger, bang, we're on ITV, BBC. And everyone was like, this is one of the best talks we've ever seen in our careers. And I was like, what? I'm just Byron from Deepdale. I don't get it. Yeah, I always say, I always wear my heart on my sleeve, proud of where I come from. I'm a high school dropout, nothing special, and everyone seems to think I am, but it's just, I don't do that. I don't, my mum didn't bring me up like that. So anyway, yeah, so COVID-19 hit, fast forward a year, and we were into, oh God, I was seeing thousands of people. I was getting pulled pillar to post from news to organisations wanting to work with us, and COVID-19 hit. So then I decided when the other company went under or stopped trading, if you will, that I can't do this. So I contacted the CPS. In fact, the CPS and police contacted me, if I'm totally honest with you, and said, what are you doing? This is your time now. You need to set up your own company. Amazing. And I was like, I don't know how to set up a company. And he was like, trust me, you can. So I reached out to a few people that knew how to do it. And literally, we are on the JJ Effect. The JJ Effect Limited would have been trading for about a year next month. But the JJ Effect CIC has been now for 7 months, and already we are straight back up there, classed as the UK's most powerful and hard-hitting anti-knife crime presentations due to my experiences and the way I've developed it. Again, TV appearances, news reports, bike rides. I run Preston's. Well, I did, or I still do. But at the time, we was running Preston's only COVID-19 fully safe youth club, which is now in conjunction with housing associations, police forces. I'm currently in the process of being vetted to be some sort of officer within Preston Police Station. And we are now life number 21 in 9 months of me taking off the streets myself with the JJ interventions, and all in the space, theoretically, of a year. It was just, if I got that, I knew that I was developing a talk that was different to anyone else's. And there's a part of the talk that is called Taking You as Close to Death as Possible without going through a traumatic experience. And that's where I take young people into the ambulance via their mind and images and what I've created, into what it's like watching your brother pretty much die. And then it literally, as soon as I sampled it, we had kids collapsing, we've had epileptic fits, we had people being sick. Wow. Then all at the end, we have queues of people admitting suicide, handing knives in. We've had young that admit being groomed, sexual assault. The suicide is a big thing at the moment. It's like every 5 schools that I do, at least get 2 or 3 kids. And then the teachers are like, wow, how have you managed to do this? And I'm like, because I'm doing it different. I'm doing it my way. It's my way. It doesn't work at all. And you mix all that package together, and we're still getting called one of the most powerful talks in England. And I'm just little old Byron from Deepdale there. Now I'm talking to you about with broken feet.
Also, you didn't go to a Moore Park school then, if you're Deepdale.
No, I went to Fulwood High. My brother at one point
I taught at Fulwood High. I might have taught you. I was a teacher at your age bracket at some point. There's a mad chance that I taught Fulwood High for about 9 months. I was thinking that when you said that. I did Moore Park. I used to be a teacher. So yeah, be a small world.
I did a talk in Blackpool about a month ago with Preston Police. And we did op sector where we went around schools doing talks, taking knives at kids in the streets and stuff like that. It was really good. And the teacher was looking at me like that, and at the end he come over all emotional, and he was like, I can't believe it. I just realised that I was in Fulwood.
No way.
Yeah, he was so proud. It was such a good experience. I've been to Fulwood High School and done talks, but it was very early in the process of me developing what I finally wanted to be, the JJ Effect. So it's totally changed since then. But
I think it's awesome. So I'm interested. Obviously, knife crime is one aspect, but it's part of violence, which is a broader spectrum. So do you touch on that? Do you touch on violence in general? Because obviously,
Yeah.
knife crime is another.
Knife crime is just the end result of violence. That's it. Knife
Yeah.
crime is an issue. The issue is the problem that we've got, which we're always unfortunately going to have. I'm what you'll find is a realist, and my opinions are I'm quite surprised, widely accepted. I've got very harsh, straight down the middle opinions on it, and knife crime isn't the issue. It's like you don't die through being stabbed; you die through dramatic losses of blood. You know, it's a violent attack. The issue is culture has changed. And what it is now everyone's addicted to social media, the power of media in general, and what it does. You've got, I go to schools and I ask questions at teachers like, oh, you can't be asking that. And so, well, the JJF's over 18, so I will be. Let's see what it does. And I'll ask the kids like as young as 6, like, have you seen anyone be killed on Facebook? And they'll all put their hand up. Some will say they've seen dogs mutilated, people
I've
get their
seen some atrocities of that stuff going around on WhatsApp groups where I'm like, do not send me.
People shooting each other's heads off, and this is what stuff. And then what it is the general public, we've sort of gone soft over the last period of 10 years. Instead of getting stronger and adapting more rules and guidelines to the power of social media, not just social media, but media in general, is that it's like when you make one small change, it doesn't seem bad, does it? But when you make loads of little small changes over a decade, at the end of the decade, you notice it's made a dramatic difference. Criminal exploitation, grooming, county lines, child paedophiles, everything's gone through the roof because everyone's now got access to everyone's life, and everyone's vulnerable because their information is easily accessible and things like that. It's like now you've got kids as young as, I'm not even joking, some of the interventions I do will shock you. And like parents will text me saying, "Oh, Byron, my 7-year-old daughter has got a 13-year-old boyfriend."
Oh my God!
Oh yeah. And they'll say, "What do I do?" And I'll say, "What's going on?" "Oh, well, he's buying her Call of Duty battle passes in exchange for those." Wow. And it's like, this is all happening over mobile phones and mobile devices. Do you know what I mean? It's what it is kids are now. Every kid is vulnerable, you know what, and some adults are still vulnerable. What it is vulnerability. When you look for another word for it, it's lack of experience. And when you're a child, you're vulnerable because you haven't had your first heartbreak, you haven't lost your first job, you haven't unfortunately been battered for the first time, you haven't had your first fight, you haven't had your first teacher maybe shouting. And now as you grow older, you have these experiences and you get wiser and you build resilience and stuff like that. And eventually, when you become about 18 to 21, is what we say. In my case, I'm 28. You build up. Don't forget, I went through the traumatic experience, but then you build up enough resilience to come out of that bracket. You become an adult. But now you've got 12-year-old girls and boys that I'll listen to the conversations they're having, and they're talking about sexual intercourse that you'd never ever even think they didn't even know about. They're talking about violence. You know what? I did an intervention, not an intervention. What was it? It was a podcast in Stoke-on-Trent, right? And I asked the kid at the end, this little boy walked in, and I'm telling you now, mate, he was decked out. He had the best trainers. You're talking £800 trainers, Moncler t-shirt. Oh, he looked big. And he was a very nice lad, to be fair. And at the end of the podcast, I said to him, I need to ask you a question. I said, what? I said, if social media wasn't about TV, none of that, right? Nothing at all, how would you know how to dress? I wouldn't know how to dress. It's a role model when each was trends. And then I said, what's the capital of England? And he didn't know the answer. But do you know what I did know the answer to? How to bash up cocaine and sell it.
Yeah, of course.
I heard him. We were talking about cutting up rocks, blah blah blah. How much it's worth on the street, all this kind of stuff. Knife crime, gang violence. The latest song that was a drill song about murdering and stabbing someone and shooting someone and kidnapping people. But I said, "What's the capital of England?" I don't know, mate.
I'm not shocked because I grew up in a life of violence myself. So everything you just said, none of it shocks me. I've been around every part of it growing up, sexualized as a youngster living in working class Manchester. I've had all them things. I'm not shocked at all. I just think I've seen that as normal in growing up. And then I became a teacher after a life of violence. And then I got out of it and saw the other side of it, seeing what kids were exposed to. So I'm with you, and I've got kids myself. You see, we're living in a world where there's exposure of all kinds of crazy things at the minute. It's not shocking. What's more shocking is the like how little is done about it. And I like the fact that you're dealing it in a different way. I can see why people are drawing to you, because it needs to be in a different light. When I was young, I end up with me messing around when I was a kid. I was with another guy, someone you'll actually find really useful. It's like the British society thing. You either have to go right to the bottom or right to the top. And I had a friend who went right to the bottom the same time as us, and he wrote a book called Wasted. It's called Mark Johnson. So he is like you, he's on the board for probation, he's on a number of things, because his book sold 3 million copies, and it's the most honest portrayal of, like, he tells you stuff that you've all done that you've kept to yourself and not say it, and he just says it in this book about real stuff. And he had a life of violence, we had a life of violence, because the other thing that comes with violence and thing is drugs. Drugs are everywhere. I've personally lost 8 people now to drugs. It's like a standard thing that you like, the things of addiction that falls into violence, falls into knife crime. They all fall into one clear bracket, don't they? It's like Deepdale's up against it. For anyone who doesn't know Deepdale in Preston, it's quite a roughish kind of part of.
Considering that when I was a kid, you could leave your door open and have your bike on the front.
And that's no longer, is it?
No, no longer. No, not at all. No, you totally agree with you. This is what I mean. I've been in so many meetings, and the teachers be like, "Boof!" They're like, "Wow, you cannot come in my school doing that. You cannot come in my school with that level of content. You can't. You get no." And then we go into the school, we do it, and the teachers are like, "Oh my God!" I'm like, "That's because you're not understanding the generation. You're not understanding if these kids are accessing easy accessible violence and music and constantly ran down their throat into their front cortex of their brain, and they're learning this is normal from a young age. When people say the sponge of your brain, like the absorb, it's the front cortex. That's like the handbrake of the human brain.
Handbrake of the human brain. I've never heard that. I like
that. So when the content hit a difficult situation hits the front, I break everything down so well, so like 6-year-old kids can understand it. So they're all like, and I go to teach. We do teach training, and the teachers at the end will be like, "Oh my God, I didn't even understand that about the brain." But that's why we're so successful, is because I use my different personality traits to get the message across. But the information's hitting the front cortex of their brain. That's so small and damaged, and has been so used to this graphic, horrible content throughout the whole life, that they've been ACEs, stuff like that. That when it goes then to the back part of the brain where they deal with these difficult circumstances and the fight, flight, adrenaline kicks in, they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. So they're thinking, the violence. So how can I top trump someone? You're either at the bottom or the top, like you said. And that's now the bottom of the top is worth more than GCSEs. It's worth more than friendships. People lose friends like that now, don't they? And they don't really care, and they move on, and betrayal and stuff like that. It's all just a massive line, if you will, and things are getting worse and worse and worse. It's like, let me ask you this, right? Hang on one second. It's like alcohol, right? It's been proven. It's common. It's not even proven. It's common knowledge now. What's common knowledge now? It's just the norm, all right? It's the norm. Alcohol has been proven to cause suicide, depression, anxiety, right?
Pathway to all drugs.
And pathway, I'm
no one ever says that, but it's a pathway to all drugs. Any drug users tell you that's the pathway.
It's a poison to the system, and then you get you do things that you wouldn't normally do, would you? Let's just say depression, anxiety, and suicide are the pathways to drugs. We'll say 4, right? Facebook, just for example, especially Facebook, Instagram, whatever, all social media platforms do them 4 same things, right?
Yeah, I know.
Why is alcohol over 18s and Facebook you can go on at any age if you like?
Mate, I totally like 100% agree with you, because especially, do you know what I like would have been petrified of is when I was at school, if we would have had Facebook. I'm petrified. I'd have hated having to have that experience of everyone knowing everything that I've done.
Oh God,
You know,
yeah.
I was definitely not a perfect kid, so there'd be loads of visuals of me and stuff I could go back, and then I'd be held for it for the rest of my life, because that's what it is, really, isn't it?
I mean,
you know, like
I did some bad things as a kid. We went around slapping people, punching people, setting fire to things, robbing motorbikes, kicking cats. We were like, whoa, mad. But we never harmed anyone. Do you know what I mean? We just had banter with it. But like, I work with kids now that won't.
But I have to say,
they take photos like this. They take photos like this because they don't want the face showing. And then I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, no, we're ugly. I had a massive speech at the youth club when we first opened. Well, when we say we first opened, but quite some time back now. And read these kids.
Do you run a
yeah,
youth
as
club?
well. Yeah.
That's cool.
And then, so these kids kept calling themselves fat, and he was not fat. There was nothing on him at all, but they all wouldn't run. So I never go mad at my kids ever. So I stopped. I said, stop now, I'm fuming. So I sat everyone down, everyone's looking at me like that. And I said, I had to give them a speech about how they're not fat. And I was like, why am I doing this? I was like, what is going on? And it's all a part of what social media is doing to the public. It's you living, you're trying to chase expectations that are unachievable constantly. And I'm the same. I'm luckily, I feel like I was very close to the edge. And I managed to change my life around. And what I do now is quite clever. I know it is. I know what I do is clever because I'm constantly thinking business to constantly get out there more and constantly and get the JJ effect in more schools, which we're doing. Is that I use social media to my advantage now. I don't let social media. I tell you what. Let me tell you this. Then I bet you agree with this, right? Say you. I love this. Say you bump into a friend, right, in a nightclub or a bar, or
don't go nightclubs anymore. 43.
Yeah. Well, let's say, let's say you're shopping at Asda, right? You bump into a friend.
Yeah.
And a part of this, like, back in the day in the 90s, let's say, it'd be, all right, mate, how you doing? I'm like, I'm all right, mate. Yeah, what are you up to? Where are you hanging around now? Oh, Mill Park. Oh, I'm up here. Should come up sometime. No worries. See you later. Go. Right. Now, even the way you speak to people's changed. If you bump into it, I go, oh my God, you're looking really well. And say, yeah, I've seen you on Facebook as well. No, I should have added you. Yeah, send me a friend request and add me on my Facebook. We go, all right, I will do. What's your Addy? So you give him your Addy and my Facebook, right? Yeah, them two things, yours and mine, right? They are two words that people get so confused when it comes to social media, is yours and mine. We do not own our Facebook platforms. They are not yours and mine. What Facebook is the modern day teletext. And the reason why it isn't over 18
I can't believe you remember teletext.
Yes, and the reason why it's not over 18s rated fully, or that they don't lock it down where you have to have a passport and whatever, right, is because it's the world's biggest selling platform. Not only that, it's been proven to be the world's most powerful and successful advertising platform.
Yeah.
Facebook is the only place where they can guarantee that you will get hits.
So I'm entrepreneurial. So I see it as all that side, and it's great, but it goes way too far. But with your thing, I'm going to disclose something that I never disclosed. So when I was younger, brought up with violence, drug addict, and then violence was all around me. And then I got a GBH, so I did a small custodial in Preston, funnily enough. So I've waited so long in the podcast to say it. I never disclose it, but it's been a big part of me. Like, I was housed by violence all my life. And then at early 20s, I had to stop. So I have to change. I'm double that in lifetime now. But what happened with me was I changed. I went to uni. I stupidly became a teacher, which was the worst thing that I could ever do because the criminal's records never leave you. So I would love, one of the things that I love is that what we do when we're younger will always affect us. To be a teacher now, I have to tell people about what I did when I was 14, 15, 16, 17, and 20. And do you know what? I don't even know him. I can't tell you why I did it because I'm not that guy. What you do when you're younger, you get held for forever. And then you've got the self-fulfilling prophecy. And one of the things that I want to see, and I think you're doing it great, is what they don't do in schools is teach people the mindset of being a human being. How to get through life and not let social media, not let other people, not let everything get on top of you. Like suicide, mental health, everything is about you trying to understand you and understanding how things work. And once you can start like seeing things in a different perspective, life can become better. And when you're young, like me, I'm the typical, every single one of my mates when we were bad boys, all little gangsters, and not one of us had a dad. And now I am a dad. My kids don't have that problem. They don't have to prove themselves and whatnot. And I started looking last night. I'm doing in a professional service, mentoring people, but I would like to mentor some younger people I've tried in the past who have no dad and they're struggling. Because when you're a guy and no one teaches you how to be a guy, and you go from say 12 to 20s, you've got so many things that happen, you haven't got a clue. Do you know what I mean? And I would like to see, and I think that when you're going to schools and they're saying you're doing it in a certain way, you're doing it in the real way. You're not bullshitting in life.
Oh yeah.
There's a way in which
I'm very. I say I'm very humble in what I do, and it's not every. I mean, I wake up every morning. I message this morning of parents, kids, people saying what I'm doing is amazing, whatever, and I do let it goes over my head. And a lot of people say to me, you need to be more proud of what you're doing, but I can't be like that. I can't be like that. It's not me. Even though a lot of people might think I'm like that, but I am not stupid. And I know what I'm doing is working, and I know it's going to work. I know it is working because I know it is, because I'm as I say, I'm like you. You know, it's not just running the charity and running what I'm doing; it's running the 10 steps ahead to make sure it's successful. I mean, when we say mentoring, it's what I'm doing now. That young lad, 14-year-old, who come yesterday, and I've got other people I'm mentoring at the moment. So you please come down to the youth club. I mean,
I want to, because
I'm going to invite you down this Saturday, hopefully, to come.
I'm coming. I think from this, I think you might I've got some things that I can show you about that I've learned later on in life, and one of them might be about. And this has happened. You said it before. As soon as you started looking for things to happen, everyone started coming. There's a thing called the law of attraction. When you start putting out what the energy you want, you receive it. And that's what happened with you. And I went, because of Mark Johnson, I got invited to a white paper being drawn on rehabilitation of offenders in London. So I went to it and I met some ex-gangsters, people who'd done horrific crimes. And then I went to a gang culture meeting. We went in this meeting, there was 10 of us, and I was never involved with knives. I was involved in violence and weapons and all that kind of thing. I saw big injuries happen. I have got one instance for knifing. We went in this room, we sat there, and they were all like, it was in London, so it was London gangs, and they were between 14 and 17. And I sat there, and no one cared about me. No one looked about me. I was just seen as a guy, nothing to do with it. And I was the last one. They went around the room introducing themselves. And when they went round to me, I said, yeah, I'm Christian. And when I was younger, I was a tearaway, and I was involved with crime and criminality, and it ended up with a custodial. But then what I did was I realized that wasn't for me, and I went to college. So as I said I went to college, everyone's ears lit up a little bit. I saw it. And I said I did the college for 2 years, and then I went to university, and I did my university, and then I did PGCE. And I watched these people who were criminal-minded at the time. They were involved in gang culture. But you know what? Every single one of them, when they saw someone who'd made it out of it, they wanted to know. I saw them. It was like they didn't care who I was at first. But as I spoke what I was saying, they listened to me more and more and more. And I saw the respect go, because everyone who's in these situations mainly wants to get out of them, but often they don't know how to. And it's people like yourself, and hopefully me one day, who get to show people that it is a matter of perspective, life is, and that we can get out of anything. So I think that you're doing amazing. You know, I can see it in you that you're doing everything. You know, the fact that you walked 40 miles last night, imagine have you got blisters?
Very, very bad.
Yeah.
Very bad. I mean, it's weird. It's like explaining. It's like the JJ effect. It doesn't even get called a PowerPoint anymore. It's like a mini film. I think what you need to do is you need to come in and witness it and what it does. I mean, this is the best part about my job, to be fair. I mean, the success of it is nothing now. I'm totally honest with you, because it's a daily thing. Praise and kids admitting suicide. It's just my life now. Literally, it's just my life, and I've developed the tools to deal with it. You know, but the PTSD and stuff like that is stuff that I've got to live with every day. But and the medication, to be honest with you. But until you've seen it, and you see everything you've just described, right, about showing people that they can beat anything and stuff like that. We aren't going too much into what I've experienced, which I'm assuming you might have heard or read a little bit about.
I haven't at all. I can tell what you're saying. You're from the same world as what I've seen, and I know what goes on in it. There's everyone sees the same.
And then when you come to the youth club, hopefully on Saturday, I will look at my diary for the next talk, and I think you should come with me.
I'd love that.
I've done it so many times. Honestly, even when when like BBC came a year ago or something, and they watched ITV, sorry, and they was just like, what the hell? And I was like, all kids are just boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, this is how you do it.
I've got a good way with the kids at the minute as well, because I
Yeah.
got a success that they all know about. So I end up setting up a clothing brand. I'm not a part of it anymore, called 11 Degrees. So with any
11
youngsters,
degrees. I've got some 11 degree stuff. Yeah.
So I was one of the founders. So it gives you a little bit of respect in that ways. But it's like when I was at that meeting in London, I saw everyone wants to go further, but most people don't know how. And one of the things that I'm looking at a lot is like men without male role models, or they've got male role models and they're leading them down the wrong way of mentality, and that'll lead to more and more of what they're putting in the life.
I know what you're saying. It's like we've got some of the kids at our place, and the parents will say like they don't speak like that when they're at home. We had one lad, I can't mention his name, who came last time. Our battery's about to go. Got 9 hours per time, and his mum said like he doesn't talk at home. He just doesn't speak. And then he came to me and he's like that. And it's like, I'm like, what's going on? Then we've got the other kids that we're supporting, and they go home to the families and they're different. But when they were me, they're totally different because I don't know why. I don't know why, but they just think what I'm doing is right, and they look up to me and it works. So if that works, I'm not going to change it. And I feel like if you're even half the person you've told me on the phone and today, I think you're going to fit right in nicely with what we're doing. And again, you know, we're always looking for new people.
What I won't be telling them, and I won't tell them this because this isn't what they want to hear, but what I've come to realize is that like, for instance, my past is like 22 years ago since all that went on for me, but I can never get away from it on everything. Go to Australia, you need to mention it. Go to America, you have to mention it.
I'm saying I'm saying, mate, this morning, just before when you messaged me, the police, Preston Prison rang me because they want me to do talks for them. And they were talking about my DBS. And then I'm just currently now being vetted to be more situated with a police force. Again, there was like, what's this? What's that? What's that? And it's like,
one side of me thinks like, one side of me totally agrees because you should have a DBS and you should have it. But in my time of teaching, they came up with this thing called additional comments, which was basically what they could write. Like you had your criminal convictions, additional comments, what they could write about you that wasn't necessarily true. I'll give you what they wrote. I've just done a degree, 3 years. I'm doing a PGCE. I started at the beginning. So now I'm 2 years college, 3 years degree, 1 year PGCE. They wrote this on the additional comments. So I remember them all word for word. I've got a bad memory. During the years of 1991 to 1997, Mr. Hoyle was known to associate with known drug users. These associations are non-concurrent. That's what they were writing to every employer that I was going to go and say, I've never been done for a drugs charge. And they were going to write that about me. I got that one removed. But what does that say when you're going for a job? I'm coming for a job. I've already got a couple of things on there. But let me tell you why I'm going to be good. And then they read that as well. You know, and I don't want to tell the youngsters that, but the truth is society doesn't want to let go of certain things. You know, like what I did was before 20. And it's like, ask me what I did. Ask me, I passed my driving test at 24. I've never had a point. Ask me about that. You know what I mean? But they won't. They'll go on about their little things.
No, I know what you mean. I mean, I've got, I said to you at the beginning, I've got some harsh opinions on criminal records and stuff. I mean, I've just been a part of a massive study for a university I can't even mention. To be fair, the woman actually won an award for it. She put this big, massive thing together about the problems with knife crime, and the actual secret of what the survey was about was the problems with knife crime teachers. And I totally agree. I've worked with some people that are absolutely embarrassing, and they're going in schools. Can I get my charger?
Of course, mate. Of course. I don't want you to go. Of course you can.
Right here.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? We're always needing charging. We're always running out. I was exactly the same this morning on a Zoom session.
I know. If you bloody run out of battery, your life will bloody run out.
But I'm loving it. Like, it's nice to on a different perspective. You've had a personal event, which is one of the biggest things in your life when you lose a brother or lose a family member or lose anyone to anything that's, you know, and you can either step up or step down, and you've stepped up and turned that massive, horrendous event into something that's going to produce less energy and light
Yeah,
in people's lives.
definitely. The JJF, I'm really honest. It's a weapon. I created a weapon. I literally, when I sat there and I said to the first director or boss I had years ago, I said, like, I need a laptop. Can I have one? He said, yeah. So he got me a laptop. I sat there at home in the office, traveling, wherever it went, London, wherever it went, I had my laptop with me. And before you know it, I had them people saying, you've got a laptop with you too much. Oh, you're doing too much work. Oh, you're doing this, you're doing that. That's what I used to get all the time, right? Constantly became addicted to it. Then when I showed it to the girls in the office, because it used to be a big office, it was like, I think it was like 20 girls working in there. They actually had to shut the office early because none of the girls would work after it because they were crying that much.
Oh.
That's how much of a weapon. That was all them years back. That was 2 years ago. Now it's a totally polished, clean weapon, and it blows people's minds. But yeah, but back to what I was saying before about the criminal record stuff. Like when I did that university, the study with the university, when that woman won that award, she sent me this form to fill out. It was about this big, and I was like, for God's sake. So I'm so busy, but all right, I'll do it. So anyway, I did it. And it turned out that she sent it to pretty much 90% of all the knife crime teachers, put it on all the knife crime forums, knife down, gloves up, only pussies carry knives, all that absolute nonsense. All right. And I was like, all right.
It won't work.
Yeah. And it's been proven. It's been proven not to work. Calling someone a pussy who carries a knife.
I'll show you pussy. That's what.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so she contacted me and she said, right, you're never going to guess what. I said, what? She went, you're the only person who answered it correctly. And I was like, what? And I slagged myself off in it as well, right? And there's a big, massive issue at the moment with knife crime companies setting up. Like when I went on, let's say, for example, I'll go with what was just happened recently when I went on BBC. I had a guy text me saying he'd love to work with me, blah, 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 blah. He's an ex-murderer. He killed someone through knife crime. He's changed his life around, and now he owns a knife crime company. Not a chance. Not a chance. There's people going around there that have actually murdered people that now want companies going into schools. There has got to be a line that cannot be crossed. And I say this to the police, and luckily they agree with me. Like I've worked with guys that go in schools that are ex-gangsters, for example. They'll go in with no PowerPoint, no DBS, no experience, no nothing. And just because they've stabbed someone or kidnapped someone or been an ex-drug kingpin, they sit on the end of the table with their arms crossed with a big gold chain on, tell the kids about their life and what they've done, basically bigging themselves up, and then leave. But then this is what the survey was about. Them kids then don't remember it. They forget about it. And it moves on, and it's a waste of funding, it's a waste of time. But then you've got people like this that go in, make kids pass out, and literally like, wow, like that. And that's what the study was about, how we've got a knife crime issue, but we've also got an issue with people coming into the industry and absolutely abusing it. How can you not go into a school in modern day culture? We are at minimum DBS, whether it's bad or not, an experience which is just justifiable to work. PowerPoint, laptops. I go in with speakers. I've got microphones. I've got stands. I've got equipment. You name it, we've got it, and we go in. All comes a part of the package. So nail the JJ effect. What we do across, and then I go into schools, and you know how embarrassing it is when you go into a school and a teacher goes, "Oh my God, how come we've been paying people for years, or like getting other organizations in for like years, and we've never had something like that?" And I go, well, that's the standards that we're setting. And anyway, I did that study with them, and I was the only person who answered honestly. And if they got back to me saying that you are right, that the industry is crazy, how can you kill someone and then go into a school? You know what I mean? So I understand.
I'm going to give a different thing. What happens then what happens if they killed someone when they were 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and now they're 47? What happens then? Because I think for me...
Can you not hear? Sorry, can you hear that?
No. Is it like... What is it? Like a buzzing noise?
It's actually really like... It's going crazy now. Hang on.
Is it in your... Is it yours?
It's like in my speakers. I just thought... I hope I haven't picked it up.
No, because I'm not getting out. I can hear you. I'd be getting out because the audio I'm getting, I'd get. Is it
I don't know what it's doing then.
You've not got tinnitus all of a sudden. It's just developed in your own.
Oh, I know. Yeah, all this walking and stuff. No, I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, but I want to say that because I can't tell you about what I was like when I was younger because it was a long time ago, but I did a lot of things that I wouldn't be proud of as a man now. I wouldn't, and there's loads of them. I have flashbacks of them. They go through because I was
Yeah, I do.
brought up that that was normal, and that's how I dealt with things. And
Yeah.
as a man, that's what you should do. You use anger and you use force and whatnot, you know, and violence. And like, I haven't done that for such a long time. That's why I can understand it. When I'm around it, I don't feel threatened by violence.
I know what you mean. I
It's
do.
just normal. I just see it
Yeah.
and I know what to do. Get out of it, and I'll, you
Yeah.
know, I'm not scared of it. But I don't want to
Yeah.
be around it. But if it happens and I'm around it, then I'll just know what to do. Like,
Yeah.
so I think
I'm saying with that, you get flashbacks, don't you? And you think,
massive.
a part of my PTSD with I've got different syndromes from whatever I've been through, is imposter syndrome. That's a massive. I was blown away when I found out I've been imposter syndrome. It's because you're living such a positive life and you've become such a new, wonderful person, for example, and you're doing amazing things that you're always living in fear that you're not that person. You're the old person. You know what I mean? I used to go, like, say, like, we used to go around punching people with bricks and chucking, smashing windows and robbing people and stuff like that. And I always think to myself, is someone going to out me? And then even the police are like, how can anyone out you? You've done that now. It's gone. You never hurt anyone. You never killed anyone. It's done now. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I know what you're saying before about, you know, what if he killed someone who was 13, 14 through knife crime or whatever, and then obviously 40 years old and then he does whatever. What it is it's a time scale, right? And rehabilitation is nothing but another word for healing, right? It's a big long line, and it might take someone 10 years to fully heal, to get over it, to come to terms with what they've done, reach out for, you know, to say sorry, and then move on with their life. It could take 20 years. It could take my brother's killers, you know, 29 years. Some of them won't even get out of prison. And some whatever rehabilitate or heal, if you will.
Yeah, loads of people are not in for that.
Loads of people won't ever heal.
Criminals, habitual, horrible, habitual.
Yeah. But then some of them will heal, right?
Totally.
I get that, right? But do you know what? This is the main thing why the study was successful and why you've just got to think about it this way, right? You can heal all you want. You can heal all you want. I'm not talking about you or me now. I'm talking about murderers, right?
No,
you can heal all you want. And you can leave prison and do wonderful things, go and have children and pass this information down to them, because you do not want this to happen to them, and you don't want them to have this burden, the guilt and the pain and the process that they've had to go through to get to where they are. But you know what people keep easily forgetting about? You know who doesn't heal? The dead body. The dead body. Forget the family, because they're smashed. They ain't got the chance. My mum I've been on about suicide so many times. You could fill a Smartie can with how many times she's talked to me, right? Hundreds of times, right? She'll never heal. My brother was stabbed like 60 odd times. He had his head chopped off. You know, pretty much. He'll never heal. So why should someone? Yeah, someone can heal. Let him rehabilitate. It's the way the world works, unfortunately. Let him rehabilitate. But they ain't coming into my industry. Right, and that's something I can't have. I can't do it, and I'll battle to teeth to bone with it.
You might change your perspective though on that though, as you look like, because what shocked me straight away was you've got those who knife people. There's one thing, but then you've got, like, it's just happened now. Someone's just got done for drink driving and they've killed the passenger. So the vehicle was the weapon. The alcohol was part of the thrusting, and now they've been left with that. And it just happened 2 weeks ago. But I remember that happened when I was 20 as well. It happened again, that one of the passengers died. And then you've got negligence at work. So some people have killed people not by inserting of something, but they've had to learn to come to terms with it. It might have been their mistake. It might have been a parachutist who didn't fill it in right for the person. So negligence came in. It might be the one who got the person on drugs. It might be those who, even though they knew they were an alcoholic, they got them drinking, and that was the time that they died.
Well, there's a word for that, isn't there? I can't remember what it's called now. What's it called again? Is it like, it's like the instigator, but it's not.
But there's so many different things where, like, people have made a mistake. Them ones what tracks me, because it's really precedent at the minute, because I just recently, there's a young girl, she's been done for drink drive, she's killed that person. Do you know what I mean? So her life is going to be the person's family's life's over. You know, they've got to deal with the loss of their child and all that. I mean, it's just pain. There's just so much pain in it all. And sometimes out of pain, like, there's some stuff, because we've got this one in Kendal, a brother stabbed his brother. And madly enough, the brother who stabbed him, he only did 5 years in jail or something like that. And the lad who died was such a nice kid, whereas the other one was not. He was nothing like him. And I've found that one hard to accept. And when I think back, you know, when I said I hadn't been touched by knives, my next door neighbour was murdered by a samurai sword, funnily enough. And then this morning I went on my dog walk, I bumped into my mate. When we were at a festival in 2001, I watched someone try and stab him. This young lad just tried and stab him. The knife bounced off, and it was a blunt knife that we kept. So I have been like, you think you haven't been around it, but actually, when I think that's two there, if I started racking my mind more. But
yeah, you are right. Knife crime's been around forever in England. We haven't got guns. You know, we have got guns, to be fair. Gun crime is on the rise as well, but you know, unfortunately, you know, we can't access them. Obviously, nowhere near as much as we can access knives. It's just with the power of social media and stuff like that. It sort of adds fuel to the fire, doesn't it? And then obviously on top of that, you've got the power of social media and like the main ones.
You hit that drill music.
Oh,
because one of my kids started listening to it. I mean, I don't mind. I was into rap and hip hop. It didn't, you know, it was, but the drill music's deep violence and
it's murder music.
Things with violence.
Yeah, it's murder. It's murder music, isn't it? It's just mental.
I don't even like the beat. Like,
no,
this is how I notice I'm feeling a bit older. It's on all time, and I love all kinds of music.
Trust me, I'm only 31. I don't know how old you are. You don't know how old, but it's like trust me. The beats are minging. It's just like I make music for the kids as well. You know, I've got a YouTube channel and
what's your YouTube channel called?
Byron Alive.
Byron Alive. I'm going to look at it straight after this.
Yeah, the kids love it. Like I go to schools and they don't expect it. Cause I've been making music since I was 13. So like obviously a lot of my music back in the day was about, you know, violence and clashing people and fighting people. Then I stopped, and then it's all about my brother. And like I've just done a song called "Still Breathing," and that's in a strip club. But it's about when lads have too much alcohol, and then you start to trip, and then you're still breathing, even though like the drugs are taking hold of you and stuff like that. It's about beating depression. So God, we got good publicity from them. Like they're really good when I play them in the schools. Or it's another barrier that I break down because like they don't usually see a knife crime teacher that's a rapper.
No,
but yeah, so they love it. But yeah,
you just hit it right. All right, so let's just forget. Like you've straight away said it right because it makes me think. 5% lager is a violent tool waiting to explode. Like my son's 14. I let him have the odd beer. That's what happened to me. 4%. It's when people go, you know, like you meet them people who drink the 5%, they can't handle it, and it makes them psychologically. You see the transition go from 2 pint, 3 pints, so now they're all dealing with the 5%, and then they start sniffing coke. So they've got not a lot of knowledge in the first place, influenced by high strength lager, and then they start on cocaine, and then they mix all that together with the being young, the music that's on. The social media scene, so next minute we're creating this violent tension. Just generally, they don't know how to deal with themselves. They don't know how to deal with emotions. They don't know how to deal with many things that are intrinsic inside the mind and the body.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're doing. Next minute they're doing.
You're right.
It's mad. It makes you feel uncomfortable saying it out loud.
They did a study in 2019, I think it was. I can't remember now when I researched it. And obviously a decade had passed from the iPhone boom, I think they called it. I can't remember what it was. But in 2009 is when we had our major iPhone boom, where it was like, if you've not got an iPhone or the best smartphone to be connected constantly to the web or your social platforms, you know, you're a nobody, really.
Yeah.
And in 2019, they did the study because that was obviously a decade. And in that decade, not male, so males was extremely high as well, but the worst one was females. And female prepubescent teenage suicide, so that's before puberty, so that's 11-year-olds roughly, maybe 10, depending on how you know everyone's body's different.
Yeah.
The female suicide went up 147%.
Wow.
147%. I can't remember, obviously I might be wrong. I need to research it, but I'm not that busy. I can't remember what it said. It said something like every 3 minutes and 45 seconds a girl kills herself.
Wow.
Below the age of 12, 11.
We've had a bit of it where I live in Kendal. I said that I live in Kendal, and there's been over the last few years, I know of some people who've actually followed that through, and then had quite a few attempts. It's in fact, one of the best videos I've ever watched is around that. There's a YouTube video. If you put man jumps off San Francisco bridge.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Have you seen it?
if saw his life flash before his life, and what he did, he's only very rare people, because people don't realize how tall that bridge is.
Do you know?
And
Let me just say this: he
hit
hit the
water,
bet,
didn't
right? So two things about it. When he said, the second I let go of that bridge, I knew it was then I wanted to be alive. He got me then. So he's hit the floor, and they've got him in the boat, and they've gone, do you know, you would remember this stat. I'm going to make this up. He goes, do you know how many people have survived that jump? And they went, how many? And he went, you're the first one ever. We'd had some crazy 100 odd fatalities off it. You're the only one ever to survive it. And he was brought by the sea lion. He thought there was a shark, didn't he? There was a shark on him, and he thought, oh my God, I've just survived this, and now I'm going to die to this shark. And it wasn't a shark, it was a sea lion pushing him to the top. Oh,
mad. It's crazy, that, isn't it? It's crazy. It is. They do say that, don't they? That once your life flashes before your life, when the noradrenaline kicks in and the DMT and whatever, your opinions are going to change. But unfortunately, a lot of the time, one of the women who come on the walk with me yesterday, her sister, they pretty much confirmed that she killed herself. But she did it as a cry for help. She was in that moment. You know what I mean? I don't want this pain anymore. Sadly, took her own life. But I think the plan was she tried to back out. I can't remember. We don't really talk about it, but it was too late. It was too late when she tried to back out. Do you know what I mean?
That's where men go wrong, because men will do it. Men.
Men
will prove the point. Go, I'm not looking like I've failed.
Yeah. I don't want to really spoil too much, because obviously I want you to come see the talk. But I had a failed suicide attempt. But I was so lucky. Luck, I met a lad at a party the night before, and I tell this to his face. We laugh about it. I didn't even like him. Chad. I didn't even like him. To be fair, it was annoying me. He was talking about my brother all night, and he got emotional, and it was like, oh my God, I'm not emotional. Why are you emotional? And it was the day before I was going to see my brother's body for the last time. So we were at a party. It was more like a coming together kind of thing. Anyway. So yeah, obviously I went and saw my brother's body the next day. Where Ed went with all the wounds, and my brain pictured together what I saw the first time and the second time. Your brain's very clever, so I basically got the whole scene in my head, like I'm watching it now. But yeah, he sort of I got the full picture. So I went home, tried to kill myself, and then luckily this lad came round. I only met him once, don't forget. And he came round and he said he thought something was wrong. Looked through my window and come through my front door and stopped me.
Oh my God! I just got like flutters down my finger.
I brought him to one of the talks of the firefighters about a year ago, and I secretly didn't tell him, and I gave him like an award in front of everyone for saving me. How crazy is that?
I got a bit emotional then.
Yeah, mad that, innit? It's crazy. So it's like I'm here just because of an all right friend, and I hate this lad. We have so many problems and arguments and that, but we always seem to float back to each other.
Yeah. Go on,
what
would you, so we've talked a little bit about you doing this amazing thing, but so I post this in a group, and it's called Mindfulness and Positivity, and which suggests that everyone's in a good place, but they're not. People are coming there seeking to be the people that, that was your journey, but everyone's on a different journey with a different kind of suffering that goes on. What advice would you give to anyone who's just had a loss? Like people who've lost people, you lost your brother through how you did. People are losing friends, Go on, give us what you'd say to them.
It's difficult. It is hard. I became someone I shouldn't have been for a long time. It took me best part of, like I say, 7 years. No, not 7. 28, 6 years before I realised, oh Jesus, man, I'm hurting people here. Advice, what to give advice. I mean, I'm quite lucky because I've always had this crazy personality that always seeks the sort of the silver lining, if you will, and stuff like that.
It's a blessing.
You know what? When it took me a long time to realise this, is that when you cannot be happy by yourself, right? You can't be happy with anyone else. You can't see two relationships can't come together and say, oh, we both make each other happy. that's lies.
Mm.
You have to be happy yourself, and then two people come together and share their joint happiness together.
Mm.
I spent so long with a person and then seeking happiness, drugs, alcohol, going out, festivals, parties, holidays, seeking constant superficial stuff to make myself feel right. When in actual reality, I just needed myself.
He was in
and
here.
And then when I created the first version of the talk and I put my effort into something, I mean, this might not to do something like this. It is difficult and traumatic. My life is a barrel of constant pain. But if you find something like me, was the bodybuilding at the time, you know, I ended up becoming British champion bodybuilder and stuff like that. Yeah, I won the award to my brother and everything on stage. Yeah,
no way. Well done.
Not like that now, but that's what I put my ass to show you when you come to the youth club.
Right.
Got all the pictures of me being brown and stuff all shredded.
But I can imagine that.
I found I found things that kept me occupied. If you're going to be going through pain of losing someone, the last thing you need to be doing is sat in a room with your own company. You need to go out there, find people. I don't mean just go out there and find friends that you already associate with. Unless you've got good friends, but very rarely, not everyone does. He's going out there doing new things, finding new people, and then trying to not forget about the loss, but just put it to one side and deal with you for the time being. Deal with you, and then in little drips and drabs, then revisit the trauma and get through it. If you face it head on straight away, you'll crash and burn. You know what I mean? When I went into that room to see my brother for that last time, I shouldn't have done it. And I could have been dead now, but I did. And I tell you another thing as well, what I highly suggest: say no to medication. I have only just now, in the last month and a half, started PTSD medication. So I've done nearly 8 years this September, this August, with no medication. I turned down every therapy. I've turned down every single PTSD, antidepressant. I've turned them all down. And finally, after 8 years, probably due to the stressfulness of this job, I've decided now that I'm more myself and stuff like that I've only just started now. I don't think jumping on tablets to help you, because that's not you helping you, that's a foreign substance helping you, something, you know what I mean? Just believe in yourself, you're stronger than what you are, and if I can do it, if Byron from bloody Deepdale can do it and still be here after all these walks and stuff, then you can. There's just no excuse. You
know what, Byron? You I think so, you're a bit of a blessing yourself. You said it then, you've been blessed by the silver lining thing that maybe some other people, my best mate was depressed and I kept going, you're not depressed, you've got everything. And but he took these meds recently and it's changed his life. He's like, this is a proper, this was the guy I was best mates with when I was younger, and he's like some man, and it's changed him. He didn't have the blessing of the silver lining neither. You've got the blessing of the silver lining. So I think everyone's a different individual, but I think that you've got a lot about you, else you wouldn't be here now. Do you know what I mean?
It's difficult. I mean, to give advice on, I get it. I do get asked all the time. I get asked my question: how are you so busy on social media? How are you so busy going to schools? Oh my God, you're going to come. I mean, I've got a guy who helps me run my company, and he my PTSD as well, doctor. They both suggest that I've only got 3 or 4 years, maybe, tops of me doing this level of talk, because it damages me inside so much when I do it.
But you can work on that. I can work on everything. I just want to say this, because I'm 43 and I've been through some stuff, and I'm learning, and that's what I want to teach. I like to teach other people about that. We can turn everything into perspective, and we don't have to feel everything, but we can allow it to be there by not having to allow it to take over and sort of take over and define us.
I'm still learning. I'm getting so much into the spiritual world at the moment. I love
that's
it.
Where I'm at.
Joe Rogan. I know it sounds daft. Everyone thinks Joe Rogan. he has got some good podcasts with some
Love him.
fantastic people which will open up your mind on other issues that we're not thinking
like
about.
I will open up your mind.
Yes, yeah. And honestly, when you learn, there's more to life than what you think and what you're told. Like, I'm not even going to get into it because believe you me, this podcast.
No, but I think that you're on the
I talk about, I watch things about UFOs and stuff like that, and there's no way that we are not connected more as people. I mean, me and my mum have had connected dreams and everything.
Have you?
Oh yeah, God, I had a dream once. I remember I knew it was a dream because I was sat up bolt right in bed, and my brother was stood at the end of the bed with his hoodie up with his Adidas jacket on, looking at me, and I was like, "What the hell is going on here?" Anyway, I watched him. He walked out the room like that, walked out the door, and then the front door shut, and I thought, what? I must be asleep. But when I turned around like that, my ex-partner, well, one of my ex-partners was led there, and she went, "What are you doing? You're freaking me out." And I went, "What?" And she sat up. She went, "You're awake. What are you doing?" I went, "I've just watched Donjaw." And she went, "I've just been watching you. You definitely was awake." Anyway, so I thought, right, went to sleep. But then the next day, she rung me and went, "You need to speak to your mum." And I said, "Why?" And this happened at 11:45 at night when Donjaw was killed as well. So then my ex-partner used to do nails, and she was doing my mum's nails, and my mum really got upset and said, "Oh, I had a bad nightmare last night." John Joe walked into my room, and I bolt right on the bed at 11:45 and stood above my bed.
Oh my God.
Now she rang me and she went, "Have you told your mum?" I said, "No." So we told each other, and she was just brought down, and she was like, "What? How can two people in two separate areas have two of the same dream at the same time?"
Well, I don't believe that anything's not that can happen, and when you become a little bit spiritually minded, you start to see it. You said it before when you said that as soon as I started looking, I started attracting things.
Yeah.
As soon as I started being open to a certain thing, and I put myself in a certain vibration, things started happening, and that's what does happen. I'm talking to you now because I sent out a vibration, and one of the things that came back was Lisa going, "Oh, you might like this guy who's just done this biking thing, you know," and then because you were receptive when I rang you yesterday, like. I'll be honest, if I was the end of a 40-mile thing, I'd probably be knackered. You were like, "No, let's bang on, let's do it in the morning, 10 o'clock, let's have it."
I was in the car jumping around, all the girls were like, "Shut up, man." I was like, "Shut up, you should have the radio." Like, I'm the guy that has the radio, and I was going 10-4 rubber ducky, this is Byron. That's my part of my personality. I'm so secretly unhappy. I'm very unhappy. I can't hold a relationship down. I struggle with day-to-day dealings of life. You know, I'm battling now. Just getting up this morning, whether I did the walk or not last night is a battle. Every night at 9 o'clock, I am literally shaking from my medication. But my gift, like you said, my silver lining is my personality prior to John Joe's death as well was so OTT that it's probably the only, you know what? I very rarely say this, right? There's a few things I very rarely say, but the probably only reason why I'm all right is because my personality is the only thing that survived my brother's death. You know what I mean? So it's like when I'm upset, I'm like, "Oh, get up, and I'm off." You know what I mean? When I'm at the party, I'm the life of the party. But when I'm at home and I'm depressed, I'm depressed. And it's just, I'm just constantly like this, and that's life. That's life, isn't it? We've got to smile about it and move on.
Yeah. Well, I think that's not life. I think that I've sort of learned that it doesn't have to be. Yeah, it doesn't have to be like that. And I think it's a process. And as well, I think back 13 years ago now, and I think the transition I've made, and I think back from 31 to 21, oh my God, that was a transition. And we're all in these transitions, and it sounds to me like you're going to get to where you want to be. You're just learning about. I think spirituality is a big thing to learn.
I've got certain plans. I've got plans for my spirituality. I want to even leave the country. I want to go and have some. I forgot what it's called. This special tea that makes you hallucinate. Apparently, you can see.
My mates. I was on a Zoom call to Bali this morning. In this they're all like, it's called higher.
But my actual PTSD guy suggested it. He said that once I'm in a better place, he said that it's called the ego killer. So you can have it and it will change your life. And I've met people. This is what I only deal in facts and science. Yeah. I don't do none of that maybe stuff. And I've actually met people that I grew up with, like women. One woman in particular who goes there once a year, and nothing in life will ever phase her or beat her. She is just so happy. She could probably take on an army, right? And she has it. And it's like when you look back to prehistoric times, like hundreds of thousands of years ago, why civilizations were so far ahead of us, because they were using more brain power, because they were all using these DMT hallucinogenics that were changing people's perspective. And as time's gone on, we've sort of come away from that, haven't we?
I see. I always had a bad issue with acid. I never
I've never bloody hell. I'm not doing bloody acid. I'm talking.
No, but it's on that hallucinogenic thing.
Yeah, it is on that. It is on that wavelength. That's why my doctor says that there's certain places you can go and you can do it in safe places. It's going to be absolutely fantastic for PTSD. So, I mean, I've got plans with that. I've
got these guys in Bali where they're doing that all the time at the minute.
Yeah, and the stuff they can come out with, and the science behind what they're doing, and the stuff they know just on life will blow you away, and you're like, wow, I didn't even think of the concept of that. And then I've got plans for the company. God, I've got some big plans coming, and things going on.
But the bigger plans are for you intrinsically. My
plan is I've got a 4-year plan, hopefully, so that in 4 years' time, hopefully, or if not even sooner, very soon, even this year, if I can help it, that I can take a smaller step back, focus more on the children that I'm helping in the youth club, and then with my knife crime talks, I can spread them out a little bit more. So I've got more time to recover. And stuff like that, because every time I do a talk, I trigger PTSD, and sometimes I do them 2-3 times a day. And when I do them 3 times a day, it's not a pretty sight by the end of it.
I can imagine.
Yeah. So plans are good. All that lot. What are you thinking? You feel like coming down to the?
Yeah, I'm coming. I've do you know, like, so the law of attraction is that we send out messages when we realize we want something. And we turn it into an actual thing. We say we want it, and it starts in here. Then we write it down. Then we start focusing on it, and then it'll come. And I've just started in my own professional life. I'm doing mentoring in a different way, but I'd like to mentor some young kids who have been fatherless in difficult situations, because I know all about that. I understand it, and I understand that what it's like to constantly be proving yourself. It goes on now at 40, I'm just getting to terms with the fact I don't have to do that anymore, prove myself constantly. And it's little things like that. My eldest son has got a confidence about him because he doesn't have to prove it. He's had a dad helping him, guiding him, telling him, you're going to do this now, being with him. And it'd be nice when people miss that and you give it them, it gives them that extra little bit bump,
I agree. I've got a few kids now.
I'm gonna end the thing.
Kids, you can see on Saturday.
I want to really thank you because you've been passionate, mate. I like your passion's been amazing.
I feel bad because I'm like 50%. I'm drained. As I say, I've got a meeting now. Well, I've got a message actually from someone from the BBC about something they want to do with me, and then I've got to go and get them 2 machetes. So the day's only just beginning. But
so I'm going to press the end of broadcast, but we'll stay on. So I'm just going to end it. Thanks a lot, mate. Thank you.
Cheers, everyone, for watching.
Where can people get you at for your
we had a website and stuff like that, but the JJ Facebook page was getting so many hits.
Yeah,
we just use that. It would have 37,000 hits in a month. It's like and also just search the JJFX CIC on Facebook. And you can see everything that we do and links to our Twitter and stuff like that, everything.
Wicked, mate. Amazing, Byron. Thanks, buddy. Thanks a lot. You say that, I'll just press this. We'll end it now, but thanks.